Welcome back to our legal round table here on Channel 199. Before we went to the break, Billy Gundelfinger was making a point about the state of Oscar Pistorius. This was in terms of the sentencing. What was the point you wanted to make there, Billy? We were talking about the subjective...
the subjective test. It must be... The reasonableness must relate to somebody in his position, i.e. an amputee, in his... What would he have done? What would he have done in that situation?
Okay, so
to test the reasonableness of his actions.
That's a bit of a controversial opinion in law. The decided judgments say that the reasonable man test is the ordinary reasonable person, and we don't subjectivize it and say the ordinary reasonable disabled person.
But there's always a spin on. The judge would bear me out here.
You put the accused
he would take
in the same...
it would go into the pot. In other words,
I think subconsciously it certainly will.
Judge, how will it
No, absolutely. In fact, everything goes into the pot, and then it really distills down to the judge's opinion as to whether the reasonable man test has been satisfied or not. And this is a very unruly horse.
Yes, I'd imagine
David,
so.
I'd just like to make a point, and I think we've made it repeatedly, but it's worth repeating.
Yes.
That we've heard lots of witnesses, lots of testimony. We're going to hear lots of defense witnesses. And no one piece of evidence is going to convict or acquit, or sometimes there can be this killer fact. But the court will be always looking at the totality of the evidence and look at the entire picture and see what has come from this overall evidence, and that will be the decider.
I think we've often had it explained as the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle and the judge looking down from above. I had a... sorry, Chris, yes, you want to make a point there?
And just to try and add to what Prof has said, yes, it's the totality of the picture, and I think this is really at the heart of the defense. They're going to present Oscar in complete detail because of the extraordinary human being he is and the extraordinary challenges that he had. So it's going to be at the heart of the defense that for a person like him, with those challenges that he has had in life, be slow to find him guilty faced with the situation that he faced that night.
I was listening to a very interesting archive interview with the well-known QC George Carman, and he was trying to explain how these things worked in layman's terms. He said the state presents it black, the defense paints it white, and the judge tries to find the corresponding shade of grey, which I thought was an interesting way of doing it. Let's have a look at some of these tweets now. Mary has asked, is it likely that the defence will have their own ballistics expert to give evidence? And I think the answer unequivocally is yes. He's in court. He's actually sitting right behind Kenny Aldridge, isn't he? Volley Volmerans. He's the man. So
he's acted in a number of cases that I was involved in, and he's an excellent expert.
And in fact, Barry
very
has spoken. He said, our witnesses will say. So yes, there will be their witnesses.
I'm very interested to think that he's going to actually say that the spread of the shots as they hit the deceased was actually in terms of 2 double taps.
Okay, well, we wait for that kind of evidence to come forward. Why was Mangena and Van der Nest allowed in court listening to other evidence past few days if they were still to testify? What's the rule with expert witnesses in court?
Let me say this, that the rule previously was, and still is, that any witness, whether you're an expert or not an expert, you are not permitted to sit in court and listen to the evidence. Until you've testified, right. Of course. And this is to prevent cross-contamination of the evidence and tailoring. One of the problems that I had personally was that a witness in the privacy of their own lounge can watch the evidence and then give evidence shortly thereafter.
Yeah, or follow it on Twitter.
And follow it. And now with Twitter and with it being live, it gives it a completely different dynamic. But I must say, that's my personal view, but the general public are absolutely, I think it was a stroke of brilliance on George Mazarakis. The public are absolutely enjoying this. The students are regarding this as a laboratory project. They're analyzing it, playing it, replaying it, and I think from that perspective, I mean, personally, when I come home at night, my wife Michelle, she updates me in great detail as to what has transpired during the day.
People are
I think people are learning how the legal system, they're getting an insight in, and they are absolutely fascinated with court proceedings.
But to answer the question, David, that experts can sit in court as an exception because they are not fact witnesses, there are opinion witnesses, and they need to listen to the opinion of the state's experts so that they can say, no, that's nonsense, that's not the science, and that's not the reasoning.
So, short answer for Gerry, the fact was they were expert witnesses.
And that's why Wally Wolmerans has been sitting in court throughout this.
And we saw Van der Nest sitting there as well. In fact, I always wondered who he was until he was in the witness stand, then I got it. Christian says, can the state prosecutor recall a witness previously used? Can they recall a previous witness?
Exceptionally, yes, with good reason. So they have to demonstrate, why didn't you deal with this when you first had him? And if they can demonstrate a good reason, a compelling reason, then the court, they'll have to apply to the judge for permission.
And lay a foundation for it. And it will be up to the judge to decide.
It can happen.
Can happen.
With the permission of the judge.
Gershwin says, if found guilty, will Oscar go to a normal prison, seeing that he is disabled? I might have to ask the Commission of Prisons if there is a special facility for disabled prisoners.
No, to the best of my knowledge, there isn't.
No.
Okay. Is this Timmy? What would be the minimum sentence for killing an intruder if Oscar gets away with premeditated murder? We've done that one, haven't we? I'll just repeat it for us. If it's not premeditated?
Well, then if it's culpable homicide, it would be anything from a suspended sentence to 15 years imprisonment.
Darren asks, who chooses the advocate who represents the state? I understand defence will hire his advocate, but who chose Mr. Nell? Well, it's the attorneys who approach the advocates. Who decides it's Gerry Nell's job? Well, within the NPA, is it appointed
in the
by
High Court, the prosecutions are done by the State Advocate's Office, and it's dependent on competency, experience, and the profile of the case and the complexity. So you will give, in ridiculous terms, a small little shoplifting will be given to a brand new prosecutor to cut their teeth on. But a high-profile murder, you will select the right
top
dog.
Your top dog. It's for the very same reason that if you're charged and you're able to afford it, you have a senior counsel.
Right.
And certainly Gerry Nell is a senior counsel.
He's the top dog. That's why he took the Jackie Salibi case. But I think just when Darren says the defence will hire his advocate, I presume he's talking about the attorneys there. The attorneys will brief the advocate in that regard. I think this one from Matt Black is aimed at you gentlemen. If you give the wrong advice or suggestion on TV, will it impact on your license to practice law? Show me your licenses, gentlemen.
Well, I think he's really talking about your Fidelity Fund certificate, which he's regarding as a license.
Yeah.
And I think the answer to the short answer is no.
No, yeah. Except people might look at you differently and say, well, I'm not hiring him to do my next case.
I mean, it's the same, by the same respect, if you give the wrong advice during a consultation, you know.
Yes. But the fact is, if you're on TV and you're giving the wrong advice, it's not going to impact on. It might impinge on your credibility going forward. Is there a specific? This one's for you, Chris, from Dead Ray. Is there a specific time frame for the judge to make a decision after everything was presented to her?
The short answer is no, but the saying is justice delayed is justice denied.
Yes.
So her ladyship will respect that quite religiously. So she will take no more time than is absolutely necessary in order to prepare a judgment, resolve the issues, and hand down their judgment.
Did you have a time frame in your mind, Chris? Did you say it's going to be 3 weeks, or did it depend on the facts of the case?
If I have to just shoot from the hip here, I would say that for an experienced judge, it should take no more than, outside limit, a month in order to make a decision on this one.
Yeah, I was going to say 6
And the
weeks.
world's
6 weeks for you, okay. Months to a month and a half. It's been the longest. Haven't there been some judges who have been taking years over
they
judgments?
have, but that's improper.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, there is a mechanism now that you can, after you've received judgment, if the judge says that he's going to postpone giving the judgment, this can be noted by the DJP, Deputy Judge President, or the Judge President, depending which division you're in, and you can note when the judgment, when the matter was finished, and now it's monitored, so judges are placed under pressure to hand down judgments.
Okay, so there'll be a bit of a light on that. Yes.
I previously said on the program that this is an opportunity for this particular judge to actually, in my words, cover herself with glory. Meaning that, look, she could deliver a judgment that is very basic, a competent resolution of the issues. But she could also deliver a judgment that is actually of value to everybody on this planet, because that's the amount of interest. And the issues in this case are so topical, they're so unusual, they're so sensational, and her resolution of those issues could put her on the map and the country and our system of justice in an extraordinary way.
I'm going to end with you as well there, Chris, and it's totally unrelated to this case, but I am intrigued by your tie. You've worn that tie before. What is that logo on your tie? Please explain the significance of your tie.
Well, I think I can say with some pride that this indicates that I am a member of the Commonwealth Judiciary, which is, I think, something to be proud of.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I like it. It's in stark contrast to Billy Gundelfinger's tie, I must say, which is probably the more elegant of ties we've got here. My thanks to our experts, Professor Stephen Toussaint, former Judge Chris Greenland, and Attorney Billy Gundelfinger, for their insights and their participation. We'll have more debate from the roundtable on Monday evening at 8 p.m. Until then, stay in touch with me via @OscarTrial199, where you can send us the questions that you'd like the legal panel to address. And remember, when you're not in front of your TV, Channel 199 is available online to qualifying DSTV subscribers. The full channel is available 24/7 via live streaming to PCs and laptops at OscarTrial.com, and therefore also available on your walker. Good night from me, David O'Sullivan, and over now to Katie Catapodis.
Thank you, David. Up next, you can join me and senior media minds as we continue to look at today's news in week 3 of the Oscar trial. See you after this break.
She will never have her wedding, she will never have her child.
I just hope that some good comes out of this at a later stage.
The family has got the opportunity to try and rebuild his life.